3, 2, 1. We're recording, though I'm not sure who this would be for. Okay, so we're going to start our unit on South Africa. We have to start the new unit with a little bit of geography lesson because I'm willing to bet that almost none of you know anything about South Africa, that you mostly know nothing about South Africa. Okay, so in your notes, start on a whole new page. Start with South Africa on the top heading. And Michael X says he has no webcam. It's not great. All right, so start heading on the top, South Africa. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is draw South Africa. You're gonna draw it. You need to know where some of the stuff is. Let me share with you my screen, though it's gonna actually work better if I draw it on the board. But let me give you the shape real quick. Where is? Come on, dummy. Okay, draw this shape in your notes. I would make it nice and big. Either make it really nice and big or make it so that you can do a couple of them. Because you're gonna need to put some information on here.
Wait, so do we do a new letter or is this like a new section?
Yeah, make it A, right? And then the mapping part will be part A, will be number A.
Oh, okay. So then we're done with the civil rights movement.
Yeah, this is totally new unit. This is South Africa now. We're done. We know everything there is to know about the US civil rights movement. We're done with the US. Okay? All right, I'm gonna move you so we can see up here. Let's see if I Hey, have any of you guys talked to Vin? Do you know if he's doing okay?
He said he was feeling better today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's feeling a little bit better, hopefully.
Yeah.
I hope he's not seriously sick. I hope his family isn't either. His parents are really nice. All right. Okay, you guys have your outline done, basically? All right, so South Africa should look something like this. Right? It should look something like this. If we can see this. I'm gonna zoom in on my drawing here because it'll be easier if you guys kind of follow along with the drawing. All right. So in the middle, we have a country called Lesotho. 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 Okay. Lesotho. All right. You spell it Lesotho, but you say Lesotho, right? On the side, you could put like an arrow down here and we can put an arrow down on the side and write some notes. Lesotho is a mountain country. So it's a collection of little mountains. And so they're able to kind of keep themselves isolated from the rest of South Africa. South Africa is kind of a hot mess, right? And so the Lesotho people are like, just close off the canyons and they're like, oh, hell no, we don't want any part of this, right? That's how they're able to stay, independent for so long. Okay. All right. Now, South Africa is divided into 4 big regions that you need to be really aware of these regions. Okay. So the first big region is right here. And it's called Cape. Cape. Okay. The next one is going to be here. Natal. And then this is Orange. And this one is Transvaal. Okay. Cape, just C-A-P-E. Natal, N-A-T-A-L. Orange, but it's the Dutch spelling of orange. It's O-R-A-N-G-E. JE, orange. And then the top one up here is Transvaal. Transvaal, VAAL. All right. So I want to be clear with you guys. The IB exam will not have a map. Okay. There is no map test. But you are going to be expected to be able to understand where these regions are. You're going to be able to talk about these regions. You have to be able to recognize these things in readings and stuff. These are not exactly the state boundaries of South Africa, right? Like Transvaal is divided into like 3 and Orange is divided into like 2, right? They're divided up, but South Africans still talk about these regions the same way that Americans talk about like the South or the Northeast or the West, right? You have to be able to be comfortable with this nomenclature in the way that a South African is. Right? If you screw this up on your essay, it's going to be something along the lines of like, where you could have somebody say, there was a lot of racial tension in the South, which is why the riot in Watts broke out. Right? That would be somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about in the United States. Right? They look at a map and they see Californians in the South. And so they just say, oh, racial tension in Watts, therefore it's California. Right? It's the South, but any American would know that California is not the South, right? You're with me on this? Okay. You have to be able to know when a South African is telling you that there's unrest in Orange or there's unrest in Transvaal or there's an uprising in Natal. You have to know that. And as we get going into this unit, these 4 regions are going to have like a different culture and you're going to have to be more comfortable with them. Okay. For now, you're going to kind of have to just memorize it. Okay. Because I'll give you the readings and stuff and they'll be doing this. All right. So the next thing we need is some cities. Next thing we're going to need is some cities. I'm going to erase these on here and I'll put my cities on here. If you made your map big enough, just put it on the same one. Otherwise, just make another one underneath. Okay. The first city that we need, the first big city that we need is down here, and it's called Cape Town. Cape Town. Okay. Cape Town is on the Cape of Good Hope. It's on the Cape of Good Hope. Now, do any of you guys know what the Cape of Good Hope is? Have you heard that before? No? No one? No one knows anything? You know nothing? All right. Well, the Cape of Good Hope is the southernmost point in Africa. It's the southernmost point in Africa, and the Cape of Good Hope, Europeans call it Good Hope because this is a part of the ocean that's very, very cold and it's choppy and it's dangerous. And so during the age of exploration, when Europeans got to the Cape and saw the mountain there, the rock formation there, they had a good hope of getting home. Right? They had a good, say what?
Yash is trying to get in. He texted me.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I've admitted Yash 3 times, man. I don't know what's going on with him. I can't help him with all his problems. Dylan, are you raising your hand? Is that what the hand icon is?
Yeah,
Yeah. What's up, man?
that was my thing.
Oh, about Yash, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be better if you just like speak, right? Like unmute and speak, right? Like as long as we're not assholes to each other, it'll be okay.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So Cape of Good Hope, the ocean is very, very dangerous there. It's cold, it's choppy, there's a lot of storms. And so this is why you have a good hope of getting home. Does that make sense? Okay. The next big city you need is Johannesburg, which is right here.
Could you move the webcam up? I can't see.
Yeah.
Is that in
Johann-
Orange or in Transvaal?
It's in Orange. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's like right on the border. It's in Transvaal. It's in Transvaal. I'm sorry, Ashley. Yeah. It's near the border of Orange and Transvaal, though. All right, Johannesburg. It's Johannesburg. Most people in the world say Johannesburg, but most South Africans say Johannesburg because they're Dutch. Okay. Right north of that is Pretoria, which is the capital for most of the time. Most of the time, that's the capital. Okay. All right. Next, you need here is Kimberley. Kimberley is spelled weird. It's Kimberley.
Kimberley is in Orange.
It's in Orange, yeah. Kimberley's like smack dab in the middle of Orange. Kimberley is going to be home to the largest diamond mines. So it's going to be, because of the resources, it's going to be a huge point of conflict. Okay, next to Kimberley, we have Bloemfontein. Bloemfontein, I'll spell this for you, for those of you who don't speak Dutch. Bloemfontein. It's Dutch for fountain of flowers. Oh, sounds nice, huh? Yeah. Bloem means bloom, like a flower bloom, and fontaine is fountain. Okay. All right. We have two more cities. We'll do those real quick. Okay. Right in front of Lesotho, we have Durban. And next to it, we have Port Elizabeth. And those are both in Natal. Okay, so we'll make sure that we're all on the same page here. Cape Town is in Cape. Bloemfontein and Kimberley are both in Orange. Johannesburg and Pretoria are both in Transvaal. And then Durban and Port Elizabeth are both in Durban. Are both in Natal. Both in Natal. Okay. Do we have questions about this before we move on? All right, here's the last thing that we'll talk about with natural features. Here's some natural features, okay? This area through here is really, really good farms. Good farmland, okay? And this is also where the money is. Okay? This is where the people are. Johannesburg is the largest city. Johannesburg is a very, very large city, but it's like an industrial city. It's an industrial city. It has kind of a reputation of poverty, has a reputation of not being very nice, of crime and stuff like that. And that's largely, well, we're going to get into this, but you'll see. Spoiler alert, the white people live here, right? So as the white people live here, that's why they're sitting on the best land and they're absorbing all the money, right? And it may not surprise you, they're taking money from where all the people are, right? So they're setting up a little colonial kind of exploitation market in the country at this time. And that's how it ends up being organized, okay?
So all the people are in Transvaal and Orange, or just Transvaal?
Yeah, Transvaal and Orange, this whole area here is the most populated area, with Johannesburg being the biggest city of all, right? But all those cities are kind of blending together in a way. And then we have like a
So is it
big
kinda
jump
like-
into Cape.
So is it kind of like radiating out with like Johannesburg is the center, and as it goes outward, it's less populated, or is there just like spots of population?
Yeah, this area is probably the most dense. That's like kind of a series of cities and towns and things that are all relatively densely populated, right?
Okay.
The rest of it is not very dense. And it's not very dense on purpose. When we get to it later on, like we have a whole lesson on it, but the South Africans are going to like force people to like a bunch of forced migrations and stuff like that that are going to change the populations. This is where all the mines are. This is where all the mines are. This is where the diamond mines are, the gold mines. This is where all the mining industry is. And so the South Africans are going to force all the like Black Africans to live there to do the work.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the white people are all down here where the money is. Cool? All right, I'm gonna, if that's good, I'm gonna transfer us back onto my other screen so you can see here. Okay, so, all right, so you'll see on the, one of the things that I want to point out with the natural features of South Africa, in our minds, most of us, if we close our eyes and picture Africa, you're going to picture like a savanna with like, you know, elephants and lions and things, and like some black dude with a spear, right? Like, I think that if we're totally honest and kind of audit everyone's brains, a lot of Americans would have that in their mind, right? I want to remove that image from your mind. South Africa does have some of that stuff up in this area up here, the Middelveld area, up in this, you know, Transvaal kind of area. There are like, you know, elephants and national parks and things up in this area. But South Africa is actually pretty cold, okay? If you look at the latitude, South Africa is as far south as like Quebec is north. So think of like Maine and like Nova Scotia and Quebec of like for coldness. And that will give you an idea. Okay, Lesotho is like a mountain area, so Lesotho actually has like ski resorts and like snow and stuff. Okay, so I want you to readjust your thinking here, right? That a lot of South Africa has temperatures that are more similar to like Scotland or Ireland or something like that, right? So relatively cool, or like Korea, right? Relatively cool. All right. Let's jump down one more. Let's go to B. B is going to be our tribal groups. The next thing we need to be introduced is the tribal groups. The biggest, Raul, I've admitted Raul like 3 times. Come on, people. Come on, people. Raul's phone keeps disconnecting. All right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. All right, so our tribal groups here, these are our biggest tribal groups. So let's put a little bit of space. We're gonna get to know these tribal groups a little bit, okay? The largest tribe is the Zulu. Today, there are about 11 million people or so. At certain points in the history, the Zulus are as much as like 40% of the population, right? As much as 40, they're a little bit lower today. The Zulu get targeted by the British pretty badly. The Zulu is where we're gonna get like that kind of stereotypical image. This is where they have that traditional shield and the spears and stuff, right? That's where the traditional image comes from. Today, they wear like jeans and t-shirts, you know. The Zulu have a reputation of being a warrior tribe. They have a reputation of being a warrior tribe. They have a reputation of being like rebels and like fighting against the power and stuff like that. They have that reputation. Now, this is to a degree, this is a stereotype, of course, right? We can have peace-loving, bookworm Zulus, just like anyone else, right? But the reputation matters because it dictates how the white people treat them, right? When the white people of South Africa start to interact with the Zulus, they're going to treat the Zulus like they're always, you know, a threat, a military violent threat. And so the Zulus get treated like that all the time, even when they're not acting like that. Okay, so that's the reputation, the Zulu. The next group we have is an Xhosa. Xhosa. You're supposed to say it with the click. Xhosa.
Clicking language.
It's the clicking language, right? Xhosa. Okay, you spell it Xhosa, and most Americans call them Xhosa. So if you hear people talk about it, they'll usually say Xhosa, but you're not supposed to pronounce it that way. You're supposed to pronounce it with the click. Xhosa. Xhosa is how you're supposed to say it. Okay. They have, I think their language has 3 clicks in it. It has off the top of the roof of your mouth, and then they have one off of the back of your teeth, and then one off the side of your mouth. Right, and those are the 3 clicks, and those are like letters in their alphabet, and then they don't have like an F or a TH. Right, so Xhosa is the name. The Xhosa have the reputation of being like scholars and academics and like thinkers and politicians. So as we get moving into some of these movements, a lot of the movements that are attached to a lot of like the leaders of the movements are going to be Xhosa. A lot of those leaders are going to be Xhosa leaders, where a lot of the like people putting on camouflage and carrying a gun are going to be Zulus. Right? There's a reason why these stereotypes exist. Nelson Mandela, the only guy that probably most of you have heard of, he's Xhosa. Right? Trevor Noah, the host of The Daily Show, he's also Xhosa. Right? It's also, it's the language that they use in the Black Panther movie. Right? When you hear the Wakandans talking to each other, they're speaking Xhosa to each other. All right. And the Xhosa people traditionally are like the lady over here with all the beads, you know, the really colorful beads, beadwork and stuff. The next group is the Sutu. The Sutu is a collection of like northern tribes and southern tribes. The southern tribes are Lesotho, the country Lesotho. The northern tribes are the areas near Lesotho. These guys have kind of a reputation of being like independent. They're mountain people, so they generally don't like play well with others. Right? Mountain people have a tendency to be kind of like isolationist and kind of by themselves. The Lesotho have that reputation about them. They also very famously wear these like big blankets. So they wrap themselves in like big thick blankets and stuff. And sometimes they'll use like a belt to tie it down or wear it kind of like a poncho or something like that. That they do this a lot because the mountains are cold, right? I mean, it snows there, it's cold, right? So they are constantly doing that. If you remember your Black Panther movie, it's where the Wakandans hold their blankets out and it turns into energy shields, right? That's where they're Lesotho. Those are like Sutu blankets. The energy shield technology is still in the works, though. They haven't perfected that yet, right? All right, the other groups, the Tswana, the Pedi, and the Venda, those guys are all going to be small groups that don't play major roles in the movement, but they are here like over and over again. Like they pop up. You'll see some of the members of like the resistance who are going to be from these different tribes. These are all relatively small tribes, relatively small. The really big ones that you really need are the Zulu and the Xhosa. Those are the ones that you really need. Okay. All right. Here's their languages where they go. In your map, mark where the Zulu and the Xhosa are. Okay, so the Xhosa are here in the red. Natal is mostly a Xhosa territory, and the Zulu are mostly up in this area. Part of Transvaal, part of Natal, they're up in this area. Okay, those are the locations where they are, the big ones.
Could you say that a little bit slower?
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
The Xhosa are this area down here. They're in Natal. And the Zulu are in Natal and Transvaal. They're in this area up here. Now, South Africa is, the nickname for the country is the Rainbow Nation. And South Africa is one of the most like ethnically diverse countries in the world. Okay, all of these different tribes are speaking different languages. South Africa is also home to about 10% of its population is Indian, from India. A bunch of them are from India, a bunch of them are from Pakistan, from Bangladesh. They also have a significant portion of their population, about 5%, who are like Arabs from the Middle East, and about 10% are white Europeans. Right, so South Africa has quite a bit. That's why they call it the Rainbow Nation. All of these languages are the official languages of South Africa. This means that the government has to publish everything in every one of these languages. Like they have TV channels in all these languages, schools are taught in all these languages, right? Like it's a pretty challenging thing for the country to deal with all of these languages. There's one language that really stands out here that we need to address, and it's the language called Afrikaans. Afrikaans. You guys should have heard about Afrikaans from AP Geography. Do any of you guys can tell me what Afrikaans is?
Isn't that the language that most white people in South America speak?
South
And it's like
Africa.
Dutch, isn't it?
South Africa, my bad.
Yeah. So yes, it's first of all, Izzy, you're absolutely right. It's a white language. Okay. It's the language of the white people. And Jackson said it's Dutch. It's actually a Creole language. Do you guys remember what a Creole is? What's that term mean?
It's just like
Isn't
a
that
mixture,
mixed
right?
language?
Yeah, it's a mix. So it's actually a mix of Dutch, English, and then the Bantu languages. Dutch, English, and then the African languages. Okay, and it's almost exclusively white people. Almost exclusively white people, right? Which is why, if you'll notice, Cape, the province with all the white people in it, speaks Afrikaans. Okay, there's one more word that you guys need to get. Most of these African languages in here, so if you take out Afrikaans and take out English, most of these African languages are what we call Bantu. B-A-N-T-U, Bantu.
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Mhm. So almost all of these African languages are what we call Bantu. B-A-N-T-U.
Is there a reason they collectivize them, or is it just so that they don't have to refer to them like individually or something?
So there is a reason. So first of all, Bantu is the language family, right? So the same way that you would say like Spanish, French, and Portuguese are Romance languages, or Russian, Bulgarian, Ukrainian are Slavic languages. Bantu is Xhosa, Zulu, right? They're linked together. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that it's easier than saying, all the tribe names. Okay, so the South Africans, the whites, will oftentimes use Bantu as a word meaning like black people. They will oftentimes use that word like that. And they'll use the word the way that American history uses the word Negro a lot. Right? They don't use the word Negro very much. They'll oftentimes say Bantu. So when we're doing some of our readings and stuff, they'll say Bantu. And there's a lot of the laws that come up where they'll say something like the Bantu education law, right? Bantu gets used as like an umbrella term. I think Rashmin was kind of anticipating some racism going on in here, right? And it's used as an umbrella term the same way that like white people in the United States call all Latinos Mexican, right? You'll hear something like that. You'll say like, oh, I was talking to this Mexican the other day. And then you'll say, oh no, she's not Mexican, she's Guatemalan. And you'd be like, yeah, that's what I said, Mexican. Right? Kind of like how that happens in the United States, that also happens in South Africa as well.
I have a question. So you know how like is there like a slur derivative of it, or is it just more of an informative term?
So
Does that make sense?
yeah, so Bantu is not a slur. It's not a slur,
Uh-huh.
right? It's kind of like where most American history, Negro wasn't a slur either,
Mhm.
right? Like, like Abraham Lincoln would say, we must respect Negro equality, right? Abraham Lincoln's not using it as a slur, right? So
Yeah,
where
but
most,
like the N word is like the derivative of it,
yeah,
right?
they have a lot of
So
other,
that's what I'm asking.
yeah, they have a lot of other slurs that come out of it. I don't know of one derived from the word Bantu.
Okay.
I'm sure they do, but I don't know. I'm not privy to it. I didn't research that because, I don't. You'll encounter some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll encounter some of them. All right.
Okay.
Are we good to move? Do we have any questions about this?
Yeah.
I have one quick question.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
you go.
All right, let's go Raul first. Let's go Raul
Okay.
first and then Michael.
So just what you were saying about Bantu and how they would, that word. In the reading for the discussion that we have, I came across the word kefir, K-E-F-I-R.
Yeah.
What is that?
So kefir is a racist term for blacks. It's a racist term for blacks. It's not as bad as the N word is in English, but it's also not good. Like it's just a racist term for blacks, for black Africans.
And then what about Sammy? Because when I saw the Gandhi movie with Ben Kingsley, they referred to all the Indians as Sammy.
Yeah, isn't Sammy a racist term for Indians? I'll have to double check that one. I don't remember that one. I don't remember that one, Raul, but I thought it was a racist term for the Indians. I might be wrong about that. Well, I'll have to look that up. I don't remember it, Raul. I do remember hearing it, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Kefir is definitely blacks, though. That's definitely blacks. Yeah, Michael's on.
Oh yeah. So I was wondering like how the white people got here. Was it like colonization and where did they come from? And
Hey,
I don't know.
here we go. All right. Big number C. Let's answer Mike's question. All right. So big number C, the South Africa as a modern country that we understand it, right? South Africa as a modern country we understand it is founded in 1790s by the Dutch. Okay. This guy right here with the hat, Jan van Riebeeck, he shows up on the South African coast and claims the land for the Netherlands and establishes a colony. Okay. Now, I understand that there's a lot of racism built into this idea that I'm telling you that the history of South Africa starts with a Dutchman. I understand the racism inherent in that. Okay. The Zulus and the Xhosa and all them, they had existed for thousands and thousands of years, right? But South Africa, the way that we understand it today, with the boundaries, the government structure we have today, starts with Van Riebeeck. He's considered like the Christopher Columbus of South Africa, basically. Yeah, not great. Yeah, Jackson's like, not the best. All right, so he lands in Cape Town. He lands in he establishes Cape Town as the city, and he establishes the Cape Colony. He stops there and he creates an agricultural colony. And the land there is really, really good. It has a really good Mediterranean climate. And so he establishes it. It's great. This land is particularly good for growing grapes. So it actually becomes one of the greatest centers of grape growing in the world.
Like wine grapes or like eating grapes?
Both. Both. Yeah. But he doesn't care about eating grapes. He cares about wine grapes. Okay. Wine, during the age of exploration, wine is one of the top food resources for sailors, right? It's one of the most important resources. It maybe is the most important resource after water, right? Because you can get food from the ocean. You can get fish and stuff from the ocean, right? But you can't get wine from the ocean. What do you need the wine for?
Kill bacteria?
No, it's not
Get
that.
drunk.
Get drunk is a pleasant side effect, but really what you need you will die without the wine. Not like I'm gonna die without a wine, but I mean like literally actually die. It's vitamin C. Wine provides vitamin C. It helps you prevent scurvy. Yep, helps prevent scurvy. Wine has vitamin C, and wine is the only source of vitamin C that you can store forever. It doesn't go bad, right? In fact, it gets better the longer you store it, usually, right? Older wine usually is better, right? So sailing ships can stop here at the Cape of Good Hope, and they can stock up on months and months worth of wine and then keep on sailing, right? If I go and get boxes of oranges, that's not going to last very well, right? Like a month into my journey, oranges aren't going to be around anymore. I'm going to be eating like moldy orange peels. But wine is great. Wine is great. I can go buy 6 months worth of wine and then, drink it over the next 2 months and it'd be not a problem, right? It also has the added bonus of getting drunk, right? So wine is super, super valuable. But Van Riebeeck finds out one important thing is that farming is really hard. It's really, really hard. And he was a born rich white, and farming is so hard that he just has to start slavery. You just have to. There's no other choice. Wah, wah. So the Dutch establish a slave colony down here. In the beginning, they start bringing slaves down from the Congo. They start catching slaves in the Congo and bringing them down. But pretty quickly, the Dutch are going to find that it's cheaper and better to use the local slaves. This is where we're going to get our last tribe that we need. The last tribe is the Khoisan. The Khoisan, which are both the Khoi and the San. Hey, there's the San. There's your San, Raul. I knew I'd heard him before. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Or is it Sammy? Oh no, you had Sammy. Never mind. Never mind, Raul. I thought I answered your question. I just made it worse. All right, so Khoisan, it's a combination of these two tribes, the Khoi tribe and the San tribe. Collectively, they get called Khoisan. This is the tribe that's native to the Cape. It's a tribe native to the Cape. And this tribe kind of stands out against the other ones because when the Dutch get here, the Khoisan ally with the Dutch. They join the Dutch. They actually learn how to speak Dutch. They start to attend Dutch schools. They convert to Christianity. They start to be Dutch. Well, I mean, kind of. They start to kind of incorporate themselves into Dutch.
Is this like ethnic cleansing type incorporation, or is it like?
No, it's not quite. It's not ethnic cleansing. It's not. That's not a fair way to say it. It's more like the Cherokee tried to do in American history.
Okay.
Right. At a certain point, the Cherokee tried to like join the U.S. as a state, right? And they tried to incorporate themselves, and then Andrew Jackson and Georgia said no, and started to kill them all. It's more similar to that. It's more
Okay.
similar to that. Yeah. So the Khoisan are in the beginning, they're doing work and they're getting paid wages and stuff. But what they realize pretty quickly is that they can make more money by just going up into the frontier and capturing other tribes and enslaving them. And so the Khoisan start bringing slaves down into Cape. So they start going up and getting like Zulu slaves and Xhosa slaves and like Sami and petty slaves, or like these other groups. These are not Sami. Raul's got Sammy on my brain. Petty slaves and all these other groups. Right? They start enslaving the other groups. Now, yeah, who's that?
So what like time period is this?
Oh, early 1800s.
Okay.
So yeah, right around the year 1800. Now, the Khoisan are going to be called Hottentots. That's going to be a term you're going to encounter in the readings, is Hottentots. And it means like an American would say like house Negro, like a house slave, something like that. A Hottentot would be like one of the good ones. Yeah. So the Khoisan are important because the Khoisan established something called colored status. Once we start establishing this like racist hierarchy, you're going to see that it's a little bit different than the American racist hierarchy. The Americans have a hierarchy where it's like blacks or whites, right? So like a Pakistani person showing up in Mississippi is going to be called, the white people will look at that Pakistani guy and they'll be like, well, he's not quite black, he's not quite white, I guess he's black, done, right? And the Mississippians will just say Pakistanis equals black, problem solved, right? But in South Africa, it's not like that. South Africa has a 3-tiered system: white, black, and colored. The Khoisan are the first tribe to get put in that colored category.
Is this like light skins type beat,
So-
like the where colorism comes from?
Yeah, so that ties into the next thing we say. The Khoisan start interbreeding with the Dutch. And so the Khoisan very quickly become an interracial tribe. And so many Khoisan people today look white. Like many Khoisan people today are like 20, 30 generations like bred in, well, maybe not 20, but like probably 15 generations bred into like Dutch, right? And so those Dutch genes are pretty strong. So you'll see Khoisan people with like blue eyes. Okay, later the colored category is where all the Indians go. That's where you put all the Indians. That's where you put all the Muslims. That's where you put all the Arabs, the Hindus, right? That's where you put all of those people. They're all going to be in that colored category. Where
And so
like,
is that worse or better than black?
so usually it's better. Usually it's better. And in their racial policies, sometimes it'll be like whites get this, coloreds and blacks get this. Sometimes it'll be whites get this, coloreds get this, blacks get this, right? Like it's a different thing. And so they mix and match it, right? So the coloreds sometimes stand alone with some privileges and sometimes get lumped in with the blacks, right? They're not entirely consistent with this, not all the time. Right. But you'll see this especially when you get into like education programs and stuff like that, because like Indians are going to be allowed to become like doctors and lawyers and stuff. And Indians are going to be like running their own colleges. Right. And so you'll have like a colored college, and the colored college will be like teaching Indians how to be lawyers, where blacks are never allowed to be lawyers. Mostly. Right. This is where Gandhi actually comes from. Gandhi's from India, but he lives in South Africa for a significant portion of his life. This is actually where Gandhi becomes a lawyer. This is where Gandhi writes his first books. So by the time Gandhi returns to India, he's already has a couple of books. He's already been involved in the anti-apartheid struggle, right? This is where he kind of sharpens his teeth before he moves back to India, right? So when he returns,
Does he then also have like a bias against the black population?
no, Gandhi actually argues in favor of the black equality, like the ending of apartheid, and he argues for racial equality in South Africa, which is why the South Africans want to kick him out. The South Africans throw him in jail and they want to kick him out and stuff. And Gandhi sees the writing on the wall. He sees, well, I don't want to spoil January for you guys, but Gandhi sees that the Indian movement is moving. And then once he sees that Indian movement start up, then Gandhi goes back home. Right. All right. All right. We didn't get to the reading. We'll do the reading on the next time. I want you to do the reading the Voortrekker Manifesto. It's pretty short. It's only like a page and a half. It's really short, but since you don't even know what a Voortrekker is, we'll just leave it for next time. Okay. So any of you who didn't do the reading, go ahead and please do it so we can have it as a discussion next time. Those of you who've been doing online with me all year will know to have done the reading probably. But we're
Talking
going
about the one for the discussion.
hold on.